Hello. Hi, Sarah, and welcome officially to the podcast. Very glad that you're here and have been here, and we get to talk a little bit more about your life with gastroparesis for the community and not just, for our benefit of venting about life with the gastroparesis. So, for anybody that didn't attend the conference and might not know you, do you want to share just a little tidbit about who you are and why you're here?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for having me tell my story again and on a different platform. I'm very excited. So I'm already rooting this. What was the question? Okay. Yeah, so
Who are you?
I
That's the
I don't know.
question.
The question is, my name is Sarah Lustgarden Bella, and I have gastroparesis, big shocker. And I was actually diagnosed all the way back in 2007, which is a long time. I'm 29
Mm.
years old now, for reference. So I've been dealing with chronic illness for the majority of my life. On top of that, I am a writer. I love to travel. Um, I live with my husband and our brand new puppy that we just got, and I don't know what else to say about myself. This is gonna be really sad. Oh my god.
This, it gets easier,
Okay.
actually, that's a lie. I feel like it gets easier in some ways and, like, harder in
Well,
others, where
asking me to
I'm
talk about myself, like, my story is one thing. Like, well, who am I? I don't know.
do
Should
we
I
do
try that again?
we can do existential, like, who are any of us?
I know, right?
Who are
I
any
have
of
no
us? We
idea
don't
who I
know.
am. I
We don't know.
trying to figure it out every day.
And
Um,
life with gastroparesis will do that to you too, because
yeah.
you change every day, You
Oh yeah.
actually, when you were talking about being diagnosed, I was like, where was I like like 2007, like time frame wise? I was like, oh, I was kind of maybe healthy at that point in my life. Because I got diagnosed my like last year right after college. So
Mhm.
I don't have the experience that some of our community has, like you do, where you got diagnosed younger, where like it's interesting because I hear my perspective, I've heard other perspectives of people getting diagnosed young, and it's like, I don't know which is better, right? So, like, when you're diagnosed younger or really, really young, you don't know life any differently. So, you adapt as you go and not having to like relearn everything. But for those who are
Yeah.
older and you've kind of already come into some of yourself, or you're living life a certain way, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, diagnosis, and you're like, where the f am I and how did I get here? And it's just really interesting to hear everybody's different experiences when it comes to when they were diagnosed and how they handled it. Did they have good parental support, which a lot of people in their younger years, they have their parents that can help them with medication, remembering to take things, questions to ask, keeping track of stuff. When you're an adult, like, we're actually expected to do that. Like, I still am like, I need a real adult, and I'm going to be 36, and I still am
Yeah.
like, where's the adult in the room? Oh shit,
Yeah.
that's me. I have to make a phone call. I'm a millennial. We don't do that. Like, I don't know how to take care of myself, but yet I'm expected to with this life altering disease. So it's really,
Yeah.
I love hearing other people's experiences, especially those that do not mirror my own.
Yeah. I think you've hit a lot of really good points there. I think that having been diagnosed, I was 9 years old. I started experiencing symptoms around 7. Um, I don't really remember my life
Mhm,
before getting sick. So it is, in a sense, all I know. That being said, things ebb and flow. Your symptoms ebb
mhm,
and flow. The severity of things change, at least for me, speaking personally here.
mhm,
Throughout different seasons of life, but also you are changing as a person from
mhm.
when you're in middle school to high school to college to a young adult to, I guess I'm technically an adult now. I don't like to say that I am, but getting married and moving on to these next chapters, like it really does affect, at least for me, it's affected each stage of life in a different
Yeah.
way. And I do think about it a lot, people that have been diagnosed more recently or in their lifetime at an older
Mhm,
age. Because I've spoken to a number of people who are newly diagnosed and they kind of are just looking for a path forward or some sort of advice or support or things like that. And you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Sam, saying like it's night and day when it hits
Mhm.
you at an age where you're established in your life and your routine, and all of a sudden you wake up one day and it's just completely been
Yeah.
flipped upside down. So yeah, it's an interesting I don't know, perspective that I have, I'd
Yeah.
say. And I am very fortunate that I have really, really supportive parents,
Mm.
my entire family, and when I was a child, especially, but that hasn't wavered. But I never let a day go by without being grateful for the fact that I had such an amazing support system,
Mhm.
especially when I was newly diagnosed and really prior to diagnosis, because there was a 2-year gap where I was sick and couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. There was no diagnosis.
Hmm.
There were no answers. There were no medications that were working or treatments that were working. And, at the age of 7, 8, 9, the years that we're talking here, um, that's really confusing on multiple
Yeah.
levels. And I think that, again, really hyping my parents up here, but so beyond lucky and fortunate that they believed me, because
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of people that will look at their kids and say, "Oh, your stomach hurts, like, don't eat sugar or don't do this or
Mhm.
whatever." Like it's very easy to say, "Oh, it's a bellyache, it'll go away." And when it doesn't go away, you know, you need help, and when you're so young, you can't access that yourself. So,
Yep.
it was really like life or death for me to have my parents be as supportive as they were. And they took me everywhere. I mean, I saw so many doctors, countless times I was sent home, she has anxiety, she has an eating disorder, it's in her head, she doesn't want to go to school, she's making this up so she can stay home. Um, and again, my parents obviously lived with me. They were watching what was happening. Every time I would try and eat something, I would be doubled over in pain, so severely nauseous, throwing up on the kitchen floor. Like they knew what was happening,
Yeah.
and so to finally get to a point, albeit 2 years later,
Hmm.
which I know is a lot longer for a lot of people. So I just wanna put that into perspective as well. But it's a bittersweet feeling when you finally get to a doctor and they put you in for a test and they say you failed. And it's
Yeah.
like,
The first test you're
wow.
happy to fail.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, "Oh my god, like, there's a name for this, and I'm
Yeah.
not totally nuts." I mean, I am nuts,
Yeah.
but not here.
Yeah. It's so crazy because you think about some situations, like as an adult, right, where you can verbalize, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling, or the pain is here. It's sharp, it's dull, it's this, it's that. It's so, I mean, it's not easy, but it's easier when you're an adult and you have an understanding or somewhat of an understanding of how the human body works to verbalize that, other than like, my tummy hurts,
Yeah.
and when you're in that situation and you're trying to verbalize that, it sounds like your parents never doubted you, which is wonderful. But like, I think about myself sometimes and I'm like, I could understand why somebody doubted my experience because it doesn't
Mhm.
make sense, right? Like it doesn't follow normal rules for who I am and what I'm feeling and what I'm saying. Like none of that really makes sense. So it all hype your parents up because we love your parents. That there's that there's such an amazing thing of what that support and that belief in somebody actually can do. And really, it could have been how much longer until you got help if you weren't believed or if you
Yeah.
weren't seen a certain way or if your parents were like, oh, it's just a tummy ache, you just have a big test coming up, like go to school. Like
Mhm.
how more malnourished you could have gotten if you weren't in a situation where you had people that could fight for you. And unfortunately, not everybody has that. Even as adults, some people don't have that, when you're so sick and you don't have a support system. So it's It's interesting just how different these experiences are, but also how much they can mirror each other when it just comes down to access and believability, if that's even a word, and getting into the right places to have somebody say, like, I hear you, I see you, like, I don't quite know what's going on, but like, I'm not going to invalidate your experience just because I don't maybe have a name for it yet.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, discussing that with doctors is a whole nother topic that we
Hmm.
can get to.
We'll
But
be here
I
for 5 hours.
yeah, exactly. But I think, just going back to what we were just saying, had I first experienced symptoms later in life, living alone or not, not living with someone who was seeing me on a day to day,
Hmm.
whether that's now it's my husband, then it was my parents. It's really difficult to understand. Like my parents understand it fully because they live with me. I have really close family members that didn't understand it for 10,
Hmm.
15 years. They would call my
Yeah.
parents and say, like close family members and teachers at school would send
Hmm.
letters home saying, like, Sarah's going to the nurse's office too often because she wants to go home. Like, it's just people are really small minded sometimes. And I think that, again, like very lucky, very fortunate that my parents were eyewitnesses to the beginnings of all of this,
Hmm.
because I don't think I would have known how to even advocate for myself. Like you were saying, wouldn't
Yeah.
know how to explain, in plain English, the things that were happening to my body, the things I was experiencing on just even a physical level, let alone a mental
Yeah.
a mental
Yeah.
level. But and I really, and my parents were acting from a place of just sheer fear and
Yep.
desperation. And yeah, that's really what led to the diagnosis. But it's tough. It's tough for people to understand. And 20 years later, we're talking today,
Hmm.
I still have friends and family members that are just
Yeah.
asking me. I mean, we can get into my whole journey with tubes, but I was tube free, for 10 years almost. And now I've had an NJ put back in since October. And people are coming out of the woodwork like, oh my God, I didn't know you were sick. I had no idea. I'm like,
Hmm.
where have you been the last 20 years? But it's okay. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what they call these are invisible illnesses. And when you slap on some makeup and put on an outfit, and go show up
Yeah.
somewhere and give all of your energy to 1 hour of, socializing, people don't see what happens when you go home and when you
Yep.
wash your makeup off and then you have to curl up in a ball and be in bed for a week. Like, of
Hmm.
course no one knows. And that's okay. I don't need, I don't go out seeking sympathy. I like to do things like this for awareness and advocacy and
Yeah.
things of that nature. But I think that, yeah, no, it's really crazy the stances that people will take in your life
Hmm.
at all stages of illness.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
really cool.
there were a couple times when I was living at home and, small town. So when I was training for half marathons and I was running a lot, people would see me out, running on the road, on the sidewalk, like I said, very small town. Everybody knew everybody. And people would see me and wave, and then they'd like bump into one of my parents, be like, "Oh, I saw Sam. Like, she looks like she's doing much better now." And my parents would be like, she's still sick. Like, she's still
Yeah.
got shit going on, and it's like you see somebody, and I've said in multiple episodes now, like, I am here. I fully understand why at first glance you would look at me and be like, there's nothing wrong with her. I
Mhm.
get it. I totally understand it. And I feel like when we talk about these things and we're like, we want you to understand that, like, we have limits, but you don't get to put the limits on me. I understand that I don't look sick, but that doesn't like invalidate my experience, right?
Right.
It's very hard to verbalize that without coming off of like, or coming out as a person who's angry, or wanting to say things a certain way. It's very difficult, I think, even for me, like, even to explain how I want to explain it feels weird because I don't
Yeah.
understand it myself. But I think it's really a campaign on the idea that, like, you just need to be kind to people and nobody knows what someone's going through because there's so many different things that aren't seen at the surface of what people are going through day to day. And making that assumption of, like, oh, that they're not sick enough, you have no
No
idea.
idea.
You have no clue the lengths that I have pushed my body just to freaking put socks on in the morning, let alone do all these other really cool things. My capabilities don't, like, invalidate the disabilities. You can be
Right.
both. And I think that that's something that is very hard to understand because disabilities have been so and illnesses have been so stigmatized for so long about, like, if you're in a wheelchair that means you can't walk. Like, we all know that that's not true. There's ambulatory wheelchair users for a reason. If you have
Mhm.
a rollator, or a cane, if you can do something without it, that means you don't need it, right? Like, that's not how things work in the body, but
Right.
I don't necessarily see that changing. I think that it'll get better in some aspects, but I I wish that didn't sound so pessimistic, but I think that just the assumptions of, like, you look fine, so you must be fine are always gonna be around. And I even find myself making those assumptions, not outwardly, but I'll catch myself being like, do they really? Not my business. Like, not
Right.
my business. Like, and just kind of sit there and be like, nope, not doing that. I don't know anything about their situation, so I'm not going to make that assumption. And
Yeah.
unless you've gone through something, it's very difficult to catch yourself when you're making those judgments or even accidentally invalidating someone's experience. Like, well, you look good. I'm like, I never
Oh,
said I didn't look good. Thank you.
yeah. Yeah. That's my favorite is, "Well, you look great." And it's like, I thank you. Like, I appreciate the compliment. I understand that it's coming from a place of
Mhm.
kindness
Mhm.
normally sometimes. Let's give people the benefit of the doubt here. But it makes me feel kind of icky when people say that
Yeah.
to me. Like there's an
Mhm.
undertone of, "Are you sure you're really sick? Are you sure you're as
Yeah.
sick as you're making it
Are you
seem?"
sure you need that tube in your face?
Yeah,
Are you
yeah,
sure you
oh,
didn't
don't
just try hard
go
enough,
back and
Sarah?
exasperate me at this point. Um, I've had
Just attention
someone
seeking. Come on.
I know, me I can't even can't even, but and then it's like, I don't know, that and then on top of trying to maintain a balance of not
Mhm.
becoming, totally isolated and not ever leaving the house, and
Mhm.
also trying to maintain a social life, and then, things happen when you have
Mhm.
chronic illnesses, even when you don't. I mean, you can wake up sick one day and have to
Yeah.
unfortunately cancel plans. For us, it happens more than the average,
Mhm.
and I deal with a lot of anxiety and guilt surrounding that, especially when we have to cancel on big life events like weddings or birthdays or things like that.
Yeah.
And normally people are understanding. I do think that they sometimes will hold a little bit of a grudge. The only reason I'm bringing it up right now is because I had somebody say to me a week or two ago,
Oh god.
somebody that's known me my entire life, say, I missed something for them and I felt absolutely awful about it. I mean, I was crying. I was beside myself because this person
Mhm.
means so much to me. And they look me dead in the eyes and go, "It's a really convenient excuse you have. You must use it all the time." And I was just it's just like, oh, like such a gut punch because I just I don't know. I don't wanna sound self-righteous, but if the roles were reversed, I would never say that to somebody
Yeah.
else, and I think that
Mhm.
that comes from being somebody chronically
Mhm.
ill,
Yep.
especially somebody that's been chronically ill for not my whole
Ever.
life, but most of my life that I remember, and going back to what you said a few minutes ago, like, I my mind is framed that way now. Like, I would
Mhm.
never look at somebody, regardless
Yeah.
of what they were going through, and say, "Oh, well, they look fine, so they're probably just doing great." Like, I would never assume that because you never know what's going on behind closed doors. As much of a cliche as that is, I mean, that holds true in so many aspects of life,
Yeah.
whether that's
Yeah.
relationship, your family, or health, as we're
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
today. So
I know.
people
It's
can
hard.
be tricky and closed minded, but what I've learned is that you really I mean, you can't control people's actions, the things that they say, the things that they do, the things that they believe about you. You can really only control how you react to that. And so in that example that I just gave, just because it's top of mind, it just happened.
Mhm.
I just, and maybe this wasn't the most mature way to handle it, but I just kind of laughed it off because I didn't want to get into
Yeah.
it. And I think that's something I'm also still working on because for me, a lot of it is I still do brush a lot of things under the rug. Oh, I'm fine. Like, yes, thank you. I do look
Mhm.
great. Thank you. Oh, thanks for noticing. Like,
Yeah. I'm
but
sick,
just like
not ugly. Yeah.
I never want it to be like, woe is me. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God. Like that's the last thing that I want from people. So anytime someone asks me how I'm doing, oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing better. And then a couple months go by and they're like, wait, but why are you better?
Yeah. That's a hard line. It's
Yeah.
really because back to what I said before, I remember there was a hike that, it was before Adam and I were married, and it was really, really hot, and we're hiking, we had gotten a little bit lost and had to get back on the trail, and, we're headed up to the fire tower, and, we can almost see it, at the top, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, "Alright, I can do this." And at this point, I was not okay. I had no business. We should have stopped right then and there, but I am stubborn as shit. So we're going. And he's like, "Are you sure you're okay?" Now it was like my sugar's dropping. I'm like, "I just need to get to the top. I won't collapse. I just need to get to the top where there's shade and then I can collapse." And I'm sweating, everything, my skin is flaring from being in the sun, the photosensitivity, my head is swimming, and I'm just tunnel vision, metaphorically and literally tunnel vision at this point
Yeah.
to get there. And I get up there and he's looking at me wide-eyed, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I just need to sit there. We just, we had a little something to eat, got a little carbs in my system, and I perk right back up after,
Mhm.
a half an hour or so in the shade, and I'm like, "I'm okay." And the reason that comes to mind is because I cannot stand it when somebody puts a limitation on me, because
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know what my limitations are. So you don't get to tell me where my limitations are. But at the same time, I want you to understand that I do have limitations. So I need you to understand that I
Yeah.
might not be able to do something, but don't tell me I can't do it, because that will just fuel me. That'll fuel my spite. To get
Right.
me to go
And
do
then I
it.
will
And
be
then I'll
doing
come
it, damn
back
it.
and then I'm gonna be like, "Do you want to see me do it 2 more times?" There, and then I'm like, I'm well past my limit, and I'm like, "Shit, can't stop now."
The
So
ambulance is coming.
it's a very difficult situation when you're trying to live a normal life while your body is living in a chronically ill life. And there is no balance for that, because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? Literally and socially. So you go somewhere and it's like, "Oh, well, you look okay. You must be feeling a little bit better. I saw you out and about." And it might be true. Maybe that day you were doing a little bit better. So you were
Mhm.
out and about. But then if you're slowly not doing something, it's like, well, maybe you're not feeling good because you're isolating yourself too much. Maybe you should try getting out and about. And then you get out and about and it's like, are you sure you're really not feeling good? You've been out and about a lot. Maybe you should stay home. It's this cycle of so where the F do you want me to exist? There's
Right.
no space. There's no gray area for us in this space. And I think that's why different disease states, even if you and I have some things in common, but we also have some things that are completely not the same.
Mhm.
So in that situation, we can still have a commonality where we understand that gray area, that your hair's done, you've got makeup on, you look good, you're upright, you're functioning, you're speaking intelligently. But I know that there's going to be a day where you can't do all of these things. It doesn't make you any less normal. It doesn't make you any different sick. It just means that it's dynamic. But at least I struggle to convey that to people, because there are people in my life, some family, some friends, where I have to keep re-explaining why I can't eat certain things, or
Yeah.
why some days I can eat a little bit more and some days I can eat a little bit less, or they know I come with food now. So if I am saying
Mhm.
no thank you, for the most part, people don't question anything
Mhm.
anymore. But when I get a question, I'm like, "How long have you known me?" Like,
Yeah.
you've been here since I got sick to see this from the beginning of what's been going on. But I know that I started to isolate myself because I felt like dog shit all the time. So I didn't want to go do anything. And I got tired of explaining it over
Oh, yeah.
and over and over again. So I just stopped. And that's been good for me to kind of just live in like my private life. The people that know. And there's been times where I'm like, yeah, I had surgery like 6 months ago. And people are like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean you had surgery? And I'm just like, well, my husband and my parents knew. Like,
Yeah.
sorry? Like, I was septic in the hospital. They're like, wait, what? I'm like, my bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
sorry. So
if we're giving you like, updates every day, you're gonna be sick of us.
it's like, yeah, I'm like, I'm sick of this too. Like, I don't want
Yeah,
this
trust.
either. I'm not, I don't want this any more than anybody else does. And I've got some friends that I've had my whole life that they don't get it, but they get it enough to where I'm
Mhm,
like, you don't see me every day. So, like, you asking me questions doesn't bother me. Cause, like you were saying, your parents saw you every day. Now your husband sees you every day. It makes sense that they have a better understanding, right? So someone who doesn't see you, they might have questions or misunderstand something. Those don't bother me. It's the
mhm.
everyday people. It's the people that are closest to you that you feel like, I thought I explained this well enough. Then I'm like, did I not explain this well enough? Is it me? Like, am I the problem? I mean, I know I'm the
Yeah.
problem, but like, am I saying something wrong? But I think it's just too difficult to understand. You don't get it till you get it. There's the other
People never
cliche
get
of
it.
it's just yeah.
Yeah, I really feel like people never get it unless
Hmm.
they're living it, which
Mhm.
I have to remind myself when I find myself in situations like you're describing, especially with family
Mhm.
members, when I try really hard not to get frustrated. And it's
Yep.
really, really hard because you want to, you get together a couple times a year for holidays or birthdays or whatever. And, it might be a day that there's like eating is just not an option because
Yep.
you're out, you want to be able to enjoy your family that you don't get to see all the time. And the options are don't eat anything and, wait
Mhm.
till you get home and then field 100 questions. Why aren't you eating? Why aren't you eating? Well, you're not gonna eat anything? Like, like the faces. Or let me force myself to eat to appease all of you and then
Mhm.
get violently ill and have to leave early. So that's
Yeah.
something I struggle with my family. I struggle with it with my friends because the world that we live in, I mean, it's such a social norm. Like meals
Mhm.
are so such a social activity. I mean, anytime you want to see your friends, at least at this stage of life that I'm in, if we want to go out and see,
Go to a
a
bar,
couple
go for
or
dinner.
yeah, "Oh, let's go get a
Yeah.
drink, let's go get dinner. And it's like,
Diet Coke.
okay, are you gonna be okay if I don't eat?
Yeah.
But and it also goes back to that gray area of like when you're scheduling in advance, how do you explain to
Mhm.
somebody this gray area of I'm not sure how I'm going to feel that day. I'm not sure what my abilities are going to be that day. And people want to have an understanding of what this gray area is, but it's so hard to explain that to somebody when you really don't even know it yourself.
Yeah.
And like
Mhm.
going back to my original sentiment, like I've been doing this for 20 years and I still don't have a solid
Yeah.
understanding of
Yeah.
my gray area and what I can and can't do because quite literally every day is different. Like it
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah. I know. It's the only constant is the unpredictability.
Yes.
Right? Like, you don't know, and I know in the last year plus, like, my food tolerance has gone down. What I can eat is getting less and less. Some days I'm
Mhm.
like, "Okay, I feel pretty normal. Okay, this is back to my normal." Don't really, like, I don't wanna think about it too much because
Yeah.
then I'll make it stop working, whatever it is, and then I'm like, "Nope, we're back to just, like, toast and eggs," because
Yeah.
that's it for a little while,
No,
and I don't know. I have no clue what's gonna happen when I wake up in the morning. I don't know where the pain is gonna be that day. I don't know where my head is like, am I gonna wake up with a migraine again because
Yeah.
they started coming back? Am I gonna wake up with
Mhm.
swollen joints? Am I going to wake up and have an allergic reaction to something today? Because why not just start being randomly allergic to things in the world that you've never been allergic to, right? Like, why not just throw that on your plate for the unpredictability of the day? Like, will I poop today? I don't know. Will I poop tomorrow? Or will it be 7 days before I go to the
Yeah.
bathroom? I don't know. It's hard
Maybe I
to
gotta go to the
say.
hospital for that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, and after my last hospital stay, I was so anxious because I had been septic, so I was super anxious about, like, my health, not knowing what was going on and not just feeling so unsure about everything. So I, repacked an entire hospital bag, like, with lists of all the things that I would need if we just need to, like, up and go. It's like, just grab that and, like, chargers, your phone, and,
Yeah.
like, your wallet, and you go. And it was like that little bit of stability made me feel like I had some semblance of control over the situation. Because 'cause I'm like, "If I pack this, I won't need it. So I'm gonna
Right.
pack it. If I pack it, I don't need it. If I don't pack it, I'm gonna
You're
need
gonna
it."
need it.
And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know what's happening anymore. I don't know where things are gonna go. You're talking about scheduling in advance, and I'm sitting here like, I can't tell you how many things in the last couple years that I have said that I was going to, and then I'm like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I just can't do it."
Yeah.
And like you were saying, with your friend, like, they don't see the sobbing that happens after that. Like, not only are you really, really hurt because you feel so terrible, and now you feel guilt and you feel like a bad person, a bad friend, a bad, family member, whatever you are to this person. And they might get it and say, "It's okay, like, I understand," but they're hurt, and you know that, even if they're kind and considerate. Or maybe they say something that makes you feel a little bit worse. So now you felt guilty, but now your feelings are now hurt, and you still don't feel good. And your
Yeah.
poor husband probably had to console you after that, very much like mine has had to in those situations where you're just like, I don't think that is easily understood or even explainable to someone who's never been in that situation, because I want to go to things. I want to see
Yeah.
my friends, the couple that I have, and my family. I'm like, I don't see anybody very often. I want to. I don't have it in me. Like,
Right.
this, as easy as it is to sit and have a conversation, like, even this takes something out of me. It'll take
Mhm.
something out of you. It might not be this equal to what a full day of shopping and, like, work and maybe going out and about might do, but it takes energy. And sometimes it
Absolutely.
takes more than you anticipated, and it's hard to explain that, and it's hard to not feel guilty, it's hard to not feel like a burden. I have said to my husband plenty of times, like, "Just yell at me and tell me I'm a burden, like, just agree with me, like, stop telling me I'm not a burden, like, I know I am, you just don't wanna hurt my feelings."
I think you and I really lucked out in the husband department
We
because
did.
I have the same thing. I really do. And anytime something like this happens, he always has my back. And I never
Mhm,
ask him to get involved. But obviously there's an extra added layer of guilt when it comes to my husband on so many levels. It's not just one
mhm.
layer, but in the sense of having to cancel plans or things like that, a lot of the times they're his plans, they're his friends.
Mhm.
It's and then I look like the bad guy and he's trying to defend me and that's a whole other
Yeah.
ball game, but he has never once made me feel like
Mhm.
I'm the problem. It's
Yep.
always, "It's gonna be okay. I'm gonna
Mhm.
cancel it. We're gonna spend the day in bed. Can I get you water? Can I get you Gatorade? What can I do for you?"
"Do you
Like,
need a heating pad? Can I rub your
over
back?
the
Like, what do
top,
you
like,
need?"
over the top, really, like, I hit the jackpot, and
Mhm.
it's like back to when I was a kid with my parents, like, there's not a day that goes by where I'm not beyond grateful. But I
Mhm.
also feel guilty when it comes to my relationship with him, just the 2 of
Mhm.
us, because when we met 6 years ago, and so, obviously, as you know, with these types of diseases, they don't ever go away, and so he knew right off the bat that I had
Mhm.
something's wrong with me, and I've been living with them for a long time, and they were pretty much, well controlled. Obviously, I'd be symptomatic multiple days a week, but well controlled altogether, tube free, things like that. His dad's a doctor for 40 plus years. And so he is very sensitive to everything medically oriented. But, I was doing a lot better 5 years ago than I am
Mhm.
today. And that's can be said
Same.
in many different places in my life. But when we first met, it was, like I said, much more manageable. So we had
Mhm.
a seemingly normal time dating. Obviously, there were trips that we would go on that he would, look at me and say, like, never really dated anyone who had to sleep on the bathroom floor unless they were drunk, but we're learning. We're really,
It's the
and it
first
was
for
COVID when
everything.
we met. So we literally moved in together on the second date. So there was no like
Oh my gosh.
growing up in private. But even to this day, we don't share a bathroom because that's, I spend too much
Yeah.
time with my head in a toilet to share a toilet with somebody else. Um, but so we got married March of last year, of 2025. And this flare that I don't know if I can even call this a flare anymore with how long it's been. But when I got to a point where I actually could not tolerate food anymore because the treatment that I was getting had stopped working, we were married for about 3 months. And
Mhm.
that's been our lives since. So the entire first year of our marriage, our honeymoon phase
Mhm.
has been him essentially being my nurse. And that kills me. I mean, it really does.
Yep.
He's
Yep.
such a social person. He's
I
extremely extroverted. He is everything that I am not.
was gonna
But I
say,
know that,
how do you handle that? Like, what?
yeah, no, and I know that is it has to affect him, but he cares so much more about me
Mhm.
than to make it about him, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So he
It
like
does.
never makes me feel that he feels that he's missing out on things or not seeing his friends or canceling plans or things like that. But I am aware enough to know
Mhm.
that it has to hurt somewhere deep down. And I never
Yep.
wanted this for him for, the first year of us being married, for him to be sleeping on the cot in the hospital and not even going home to take a shower because he like refused to leave me. I mean, I
Yeah.
had to look him in the eye and say, listen, like, I need alone time. Go home and shower. And Sam, he still didn't.
I think we
Even my
married the
parents
same
were like,
person.
yeah, even my parents were like, "Call us if you need us. We'll drive down." But like, I
Uh-huh.
know we know you like to be alone when you don't feel well, and that's something that my husband has come to learn as well because
Mhm.
he's so caring and so loving and so warm and so sweet that anytime I don't feel well or I get green in the face, he looks at me. He doesn't. I don't have to say anything. He can just look at me and
Mhm.
be like, "Oh shit."
Mhm.
But he's learned that instead of like coming to me, he knows that sometimes I just need space. I need to be quiet. I need my own time. I should just shut the bathroom door, do what I need to do, and I'll see him on the other side.
Mhm.
And so there have been a lot of learning curves in a lot of different
Yeah.
aspects of our relationship, but I really don't know how I got so lucky. I don't.
Yeah. So it's funny as you're talking about your first year of marriage. So, 3 months into our first year of marriage, I was septic. So, but the first, like, 3 months in, all of a sudden, I'm really, really sick. We don't know what's going on. Turned out I was fighting an infection, so he's really dealing with not only just illness and change. Like, we had never lived with anybody before. Like, we moved into our house like the day after we got married. We signed the papers on our house and we're moving in that weekend, so like everything changed for us in a short period of time. So not only are we trying to navigate just the normal, like newlywed, living with another person situation, we're now dealing with, I was weird sick on like illness on top of illness, like weird cold flu things. And all of a sudden I get this infection and it turned into sepsis. And that's what we were dealing with in the beginning of the marriage. And
Yeah.
he had to be in the hospital with me, like, watching me decline, watching me fight for my life, literally. So much like what you were saying, I'm, like, shaking my head, like, "Yep, same thing, been there, done that," in, like, the best
Yeah.
and worst ways of, like,
Yeah.
when something happens and someone's like, "Oh, well, is everything okay? Are you guys okay? We never see you." And he's like, "Well, she looks fine, but she's not. Like, you don't see
Yeah.
her because she's sick. Like, that's the reality of the situation." And he would fight to the death for me in any of those situations of, like, what do we want to do? And you don't use your illness as a convenient excuse to get out of
No.
things as much as we might want to. And we would
Right.
be ever justified to do that. That's the last thing we want, because it feels like it wins on those days when something flares
Yeah.
because I've pushed too hard to do something or I can't function. And he's like, "What can I do?" Same thing, like, knock on the bathroom door, like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. Like, it's okay. Everything's fine."
I don't need to hear this.
Yeah, basically, I'm like, "Turn the fan on, like, go
You
watch
need
TV."
headphones?
Like, yeah, I'm like, I don't want this to happen." But, he's also been in the bathroom with me while
Yes.
I'm sitting on the toilet with my head in a bucket. The
Yes.
man has stuck his hand in my vomit to
Oh, yeah.
determine whether or not I puked up my pills. So, you
Yeah.
know, it's this turned
Once
into a love letter
once
to
your
our
husband has
husbands.
touched your vomit, there's no going back.
No, no, there's not. I know how dang lucky I am, and he's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
sit here, listen to this episode, and be like, "Sam, like, you're blushing. It's fine. I'm telling the world that I love you. It's okay." But,
Yeah.
it makes all the difference in the world to have someone to support you, somebody to look at you and not question your experience, even if they don't understand it. As much as they see things, I think
Mm.
there's still a level of not quite understanding it, even
Right, 'cause
though
they're
they're
not
the closest
experiencing it.
person, because they're
Right.
not the ones feeling what we're feeling.
Mhm.
And it really does mean a lot, I think, more than they even realize how wonderful it can be to have somebody that just believes you and just understands you to the best of their ability and will defend you till, the ends of the earth, because that's just what they do.
Yeah, absolutely, and even, like, in doctor's appointments, I'll
Mhm.
leave and I'm pretty good about taking notes and listening just from a lot of
Mhm.
years of practice. And, like I had surgery at the end of October and once I got home, I had a couple questions and my husband was like, "Oh, don't worry, I recorded the whole thing." Like I was still under anesthesia and he had a 50-minute audio recording of my
That's
surgeon's
amazing.
debrief, his instructions, and that's just one example. I mean, I was at a doctor's
Mhm.
appointment a few weeks ago, same thing. Like, I mean, he and I but my point is I never asked him to do that.
Mhm.
That is all him. Like, he took it upon himself to make sure that all the information was recorded,
Yeah.
written down, captured so that I had
Mhm.
the best chance of healing and et
Yep.
cetera. It's just another example of all the amazing things that these great partners that we have too.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I'm like, I feel bad for anybody that doesn't have that same thing, but it is out there, And before he and I had met, I remember feeling like I had ended my last relationship, like, pretty terribly, and I was like, "I'm done. I am done. I'm not doing this again. I'm not breaking in another person, to go through
Yeah,
all the illnesses, like,
hard.
all the things that come with me. I'm not doing it. I'm not putting my time and energy into something. Like, screw it. I'm done." And wouldn't you know it, here he is in a moment where I'm like, I want nothing to do with men. They're all dumb. No offense, guys. I'm like, but that was where I was at the time. I'm like, I want nothing to do with any of you. I'm done. And
Yeah,
then I get this. And this was the most understanding, supportive piece of what living, outside of your parents, of, like, what living with chronic illness, you feel that isolation. You feel like you're not worthy of love. You feel your self-esteem can be, for a lot of us, is in the toilet. I had a GJ tube at the time and I had my central line, and I'm like, how do I explain all of this? Like, I couldn't eat really anything. I'm like, but I'm doing these kind of normal things, but I've still got all these other things going on. And I'm like, I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of a relationship. And I don't want to put my energy into a relationship. And it was that I'm like, we talk about cliches all the time where when you're least expecting it, right? And that's exactly what happened. And I found someone that saw me for just who I am, like in the best way possible, be like, I don't care about any of that
Yeah.
stuff, and it shouldn't be as rare as it is, unfortunately, but I think that's just the way of the world. And for anybody that's going through something, whether you're dealing with, anxiety, chronic illness, maybe you're going through a period of life where you're not at your best self, and that's all that some people see, and that doesn't mean that that's all that you are. And for a long time, I felt very unworthy. I didn't feel like I had anything to give. All of these things just sat in my head for so long, and then I get into a situation where it's like, no, I just like, it's just you. Whatever happens, happens. And we'll like either deal with it or not deal with it when it happens or doesn't. And we'll just walk it together. And I was like, wait, people do that? Like, that's a thing? Like, what?
Yeah. And I actually don't even think I realized how important having a supportive partner was until
Hmm.
I met my husband, because the longest relationship I was in prior was in college. And I just
Hmm.
feel like college relationships are immature on so many levels. The
Yeah.
last thing that, my frat star boyfriend wanted to be dealing with was me going to the hospital all the time for IVs,
Yeah.
or, getting sick and whatever, all the things that
Hmm.
we deal with. And so it was never really, we weren't living together. So that's a whole
Hmm.
added element, I think, when you are actually moving with somebody, when you struggle on a day-to-day basis, that's a whole nother ball game. Um, but going back to what you're saying about dating, so like in between those two relationships, I didn't date because, first of all,
It's hard.
for anybody,
Hmm.
dating takes so much energy, so much energy. Okay,
Yes, it
and
does.
all people really would ever do is meet for a drink or meet for a
Hmm.
meal, and then we're circling back to the family conversation here, where it's
Hmm.
like, how do you explain to somebody that you first meet on a first date, "Hey, so, like, I'm just gonna nibble on a piece of bread. You cool with that?" Like, is
Hmm.
that I mean, there's no second date. There's no second date
Yeah.
because there's no
Yep.
understanding, you're a weirdo. So, I
Hmm.
just kind of removed myself from the dating pool completely,
Yep.
and like you said, which here we go with our favorite cliches again, seriously, I mean, it was, like, right at the beginning of COVID, I was most definitely not looking to be dating,
Yep.
and a friend of mine, from high school set me up with him, like, over the internet,
Mhm.
and he was just, like, a fun person to talk to on text for a few months while we were all in lockdown, and then finally, we met. I was not home, I was on lockdown elsewhere with my parents,
Mhm.
and when we got home, we met, um, and then on the second date, he moved into my house. So, there was no, really shielding what was going on
Yeah.
behind closed bathroom doors, but I think because we had such a long talking period
Mhm.
prior to actually going on our first date, he I was able to explain some of it in advance, which I do think is important. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be the first thing you say. Like, it's a part of you. It doesn't define you. You
Mhm.
don't need to be like, "Hi, I'm Sarah. So nice to meet you. Also, my stomach's paralyzed." Like, it's a
Yeah.
really sexy conversation to have. But I think that you can have a conversation pretty early on that just says
Mhm.
like, "Hey, here's the deal. Not asking much of you, but at this stage." But, just wanna let you know, just wanna put all my cards on the table, because
Yeah.
I think it hurts more to get emotionally invested in somebody and then have them reject you for
Yeah.
that reason. for having too much
Yeah.
baggage.
Yep. Been there,
Yeah.
been there. I remember the first time that one happened, I was like I was hurt. I was actually,
Uh-huh.
like I was hurt, and because everybody else, I did it a little differently every time, like, when I was dating and of, like, how do I wanna tell somebody this thing that I have, right?
Yeah.
And I did it a little differently, and this one person I liked, and, he knew that there was, like, some stuff. It's kinda like I lead usually with, like, diabetes because people, like,
Uh-huh.
understand diabetes a
Yeah.
little bit more. So I'm like, "Okay, so I can kinda go in a little bit more," and then he just was like, "No," and just ghosted and blocked my number. It's like it just reiterates that feeling that, like, you're not worthy because you're sick.
That's exactly yeah, it feeds back into that narrative that I think a lot of us
Mhm,
have of just feeling unlovable or broken or just that there's something not quite right and
mhm.
no one's going to accept that and that we have to accept it because it's our reality, but that shouldn't
Yeah.
have to be someone else's reality. And I don't think that everyone in the world is as awful as that person
Mhm.
that you're describing,
No.
and I that's
No.
very true. I mean, look at your husband, look at my husband. There are
Mhm.
people out there but, it's tough enough dating to find the right person without a whole
Yeah.
slew of chronic
Yeah.
illnesses that, the added weight of all of that is something that I don't think is actually talked enough about. So
No.
I'm glad we went down this rabbit hole.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of this, like, even just every little bit of the conversation we've had today and a lot of the conversations that you and I end up having, I feel like it comes down to, like, that supportive piece of it,
Mhm.
whether you're finding a supportive medical team to your friends, to your family, to your partners, or whatever your life looks like and who the people are that are in your lives and how important that is. And for so long, I didn't have a community either, which I feel like coming from me now, like, sounds funny given what I do
Yeah,
and where I am. I'm like, I was alone while fostering communities elsewhere. I had no community. And slowly but surely over the last year, like, my community has grown. And this community, as I was fostering it, like, for other people, became part of my own community, and I'm like, I didn't know how much I needed other people until I
yeah,
started to have other people again, and people that I didn't need to explain myself to, people that I didn't need to explain why I could eat, this one day and then I couldn't eat anything the next day, or that didn't judge me for my food choices or my lack thereof, right? That
right.
there's that understanding of your energy, input and output and what all of that looks like. I'm like, I didn't know that I needed this. And I think because we isolate so easily and we hurt very easily, which is not it's not a great thing, but it's not like a dig, right? Like, we have
Yeah,
a lot going on. A lot of us have big feelings because we've got a lot of things happening. So it's easy to feel hurt by the surrounding people, environment, situation, whatever it is, that it comes down to really not realizing what a hole that lack of community can do for you. And you don't always need a supportive partner. You don't always need supportive parents. You don't always need supportive friends, but you need some form of support, right? It doesn't have to be in all of those categories. It could be one or two or a completely different category, but it's just really been wonderful to start to feel like that community is back and those pieces are back and feeling little bit of a safety net, honestly, of like, I'm having a bad day and I just want to authentically be myself. I didn't know I was allowed to authentically be myself until I found my little community here, and if anybody can take anything away from this very long conversation, that when I go back, I'm gonna be like, "Wow, we were all over the place." Um,
I know. I was like,
it's
we didn't even talk about my childhood.
it's
Did
it's
I even
our
tell everyone what I was diagnosed in? I don't even know, but whatever. We
oh
can
my god,
edit
no, we've
it.
been talking forever, but, it's that thing that it's like what do you want somebody to take away from your story, right? And we've talked
Uh,
about that a lot when trying to figure out, like, how do I say something? What do I say? And you just think about, what do I want someone to come away from this with? And I think, at least for me, a lot of it is that you're not alone,
yeah.
and there's a place for you here. No matter
Mhm.
where you are, no matter who you are, as long as you're nice to all the other people in here. We don't accept people who are not kind to each other. Just kidding,
Yeah.
we'll accept you, but I might yell at you a little bit. You don't have to be alone, and you can come to this community. You have people here who can help you, who care about you, and aren't here to judge you, and you can show up as much or as little as you have to be, you want to be, or you can be. And sometimes you might get really lucky, like we've been, to find some really supportive partners. Maybe that's not something you want. So,
Mhm.
that's not something that you're looking for. And you're just looking for other people to bitch about life with chronic illness and gastroparesis with. If that's the case, we're your
Okay.
people. We love doing
Absolutely.
that.
Let's commiserate together. No, when I found G-PACT, I mean, it was long before you and I met. I found
Mm-hmm.
G-PACT right around the time I was diagnosed. I don't even
Mm-hmm.
think I was a teenager yet. And I met a good group of people and stayed in touch with them a while. And we did some meetups, and it
Mm-hmm.
was really, really, really good for me because even though this was, obviously pre husband, even though
Mm-hmm.
my parents were, like I said, over the top supportive, it's not the same. It's not the same as
Yep.
talking to people that experience what we experience, feel what we feel, and it's so important, and sometimes it can even be a little much, and it's nice that you can come and go as you please. I mean, I took a
Mm-hmm.
couple years away from doing support groups because I wanted to just try and live my life and figure it out on
Mm-hmm.
my own, and it works for people, it doesn't work for people. It worked for me for a period of time, and then, last year, I felt that again, even with the amazing support of my family and husband, that's not always enough. Like, you do want to be able to talk to like-minded
Other people.
individuals or people at least, with similar symptoms and diagnoses and things like that. And so that's why, I came running back to you, and so beyond happy to be involved again because it really does make all the difference in, feeling less alone, less
Yeah.
isolated, and, as much as I hate not hate, but as much as I hesitate to talk about the mind-body connection because it can be misconstrued sometimes
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of gastroparesis and dysautonomia and all the things that we discuss here. Um Isolating yourself can definitely affect the physical, and,
Yes. Yes.
having bad mental can affect the physical. I'm not saying that that is the root cause of these illnesses, I will never say that, but I do think managing stress and
Mm-hmm.
depression and all of those things can only help the physical
Yeah.
symptoms. So,
Oh,
big
absolutely.
believer in, if you even if you have supportive family and friends, if you don't, there's always a place to go and be able
Yeah.
to get more.
Yeah, I know. I thought for a long time, I'm like, I don't need that. Like, it's fine. I don't need that. No, I
Yeah.
did. I did. I
Yeah.
just didn't realize that I needed it. And,
Mhm.
I have talked a little bit more openly about, like, how my own stress and anxiety has been playing a role in the last couple years, whether it's, you know, health anxiety, which is legit
Yeah.
for a lot of us that have a
Yeah.
lot of those issues, but also just life anxiety and just where everything is in the world right now. Like, everybody is feeling something, and we get the added bonus of the other somethings that we've had forever, right? So
Yeah.
you just, I think we want to be that feeling of like, I can do this. I don't need anything else. I'm okay. Like what you were saying, however long ago that we've been talking now, where you want to just say, yeah, I'm okay. Like, I've got this. Like, yeah, I'm fine. We're hardly ever actually fine. And when you start to really acknowledge that and lean into, like, I need more, I think that's when
Mhm.
the more starts to become available to you. And that's what we're trying to
Yeah.
do, is we're growing. Like, we've the G-PACT in our community has grown so much in the last year that, like, we almost can't keep up
Yeah,
because we realize, like, we found something, right? And which is great to provide these things, but we wanna do it right, and we wanna do it right by
absolutely.
ourselves, we wanna do it right by everybody else, and really pull in and do for people what they're looking for, and just meet you where you are, like, however you wanna show up, and that's what you do for the day or don't for the day, like, we're not here to judge you, we're just here to give you a helping hand when you ask for it, and I think that it's just a great thing to feel that back, and I'm glad that you feel that way too, because 'cause we're happy you're here. You're never allowed to
I
leave
love
us
being
now.
here. Okay, good. You're stuck with me, I'm stuck with you. It's perfect. Oh, and I think one of the things that you just said, I just want to reiterate is that, to be able to show up whenever and however that looks right for you is also so important. I mean, it just goes back and reiterates everything that we've been saying today. If you don't feel up to it, you don't have to show up to a support group. Or
Yep,
if you want to come from bed, you can come from bed. I mean, that's
mhm,
the joys of
I've done it.
living in the virtual world now. Exactly. It's really, it's for you. It's not for
Yeah,
anyone.
yeah,
So it's important,
I
so
know.
important to have resources like that.
Yeah, I'm grateful to all our people and I hope that, we can keep providing more as I've like teased, not teased that we've got other things in the works. As we're trying to build and more people are saying what they would love to see and what would help them, so we're like, let's see how we can make these things happen. And I see so far down the line for gastroparesis awareness and advocacy and support and education, and I'm just like, I want to go run after all of it, and I have to remind myself that I'm sick too, so we're gonna walk
Yes.
and not run as we do it, so that way we do it well by for everyone, and really
Right.
try to take into account what people are asking for, what we can do, and what the community needs, because we've been so left behind, and I'm tired of being left behind, and I know you are too, and so is the
Yeah.
rest of everybody. So
I
we're
mean, it's
gonna,
in
really try not be left
every
behind
aspect of
anymore.
this field, I was gonna say.
Mhm.
Medical,
Yeah.
clinical research. Not that
Mhm.
we get too much there, but, we're gonna try our best, our damn
Yeah.
best.
Yeah, and demand more. Well, thank you for a wonderful, as always, conversation. That was longer than I ever intended it to be, but that's just how we talk.
I know, I didn't
But
even tell my story, Sam. You can catch that on YouTube.
all right, we're gonna need to do a part two then.
Yeah.
But but thank you, really. This is what I get for not having notes. I told you that in the beginning that this was one coming in without notes. It's the wild, wild
No,
west
it's
and
good.
over here on surviving at a spite. But these are, I think, the most authentic
Yeah.
conversations is what just comes out of what do you need to talk about? What is on your heart? And that's where a lot of these conversations, when you just kind of go off the rails in the best way. And hopefully somebody out there will say, I didn't know there was a support group and now I feel comfortable going. Because if these two wackadoos are part of it, then I think I'll be welcome.
We're a lot of fun. Come hang
Yes.
out. Well,
All
thank you
right.
so much for having me, Sam. I always love talking to you. I love our stream. I came into this thinking, I was going to be telling my story and was nervous about having notes, and just be able to sit down and talk authentically is so refreshing, and I think so important. I think something that
Mhm.
we need more of, and just to make it real. I mean, it's real.
Yeah.
This is real life, and
Mhm.
my husband's head is absolutely going to explode when this episode
Yeah.
drops. So
Yeah. I'll
I get
we'll have to label it as love letter to her husbands, because that's what this turned into. So
yeah.
you know, they deserve it too. But thank you. I am always grateful to you, and the GPACT community is lucky to have you too, because you're, like I said,
Oh,
you're not going anywhere now. So
no, the feeling is so mutual. It really is. It's an honor.